person who has a couple more possibilities.
Good morning. My name is Jay Becker. That's Jaybecker. Today, December 19th, the day the Electoral College meets, we are announcing the launch of a nationwide movement. In the name of humanity, we refuse to accept a fascist America. Donald Trump, the president-elect, is assembling a regime of great danger. Millions of people in the U.S. and around the world are filled with anxiety, fear, and outrage. Our anguish is right and it's justified. Now we have to turn that anger into massive resistance before Donald Trump is inaugurated and has the full reins of power in his hands. Should we fail to do that, in our millions now, do everything we can to stop this, the consequences for humanity will be disastrous. That's why all of us in this movement know in the depths of our being that a catastrophe will befall the people of the world should Trump and Pence regime actually assume full power. That's why today we're calling for a month of resistance, beginning on December 19th, reaching a crescendo by January 20th, 2017. Our resistance must spread rapidly to every sphere and every corner of the country because we refuse to accept a fascist America. Millions must rise up in a resistance with deep determination to stop the Trump-Pence regime. I'm going to introduce some speakers from different organizations here in the Chicago area. First will be Greg Greer. He's a public speaker, minister, social activist, and editor of One World Internet Journal, and he's a founder of Freedom First International. Greg Greer, that's G-R-E-G-G, Greer, G-R-E-E-R.
Good morning, everyone. As I was so thoroughly introduced, we are standing here because we want to say it clear, we want to say it precisive, and we have to be strategic. That the election of Donald Trump as President of the United States of America is illegitimate. We are standing and say that we do not accept this President-elect as a legitimate power. While he won the popular vote, we're asking that those in the Electoral College, starting today, and the folks in the community understand that this president is endangering us, not as just a community. Our national security is at stake. Our national security is at stake. We are in danger from start to finish. Our country is in danger of this presidency. One thing that I would like to point out among several things is his cabinet is filled with right-wing, conservative nationalists who, to say the least, are against what we stand for as a country, against what we stand for as a community, against what we stand for as protection of the people of the United States of America. We are saying clearly that Donald Trump is illegitimate. We are also saying that number two, that today has to be a day of national resistance. And going forward, we will continue in our efforts to say that we won't accept a fascist president. We won't accept a fascist cabinet. We will not accept someone who is in office who, while again, he won the popular vote, the people are totally against him, and we stand as a community to say, and representative of the community, no go. We won't have it. Donald Trump cannot stand. We will fight to every last breath. This movement that's being organized is not only a local movement, but it's a national movement and an international movement, and we will grow in numbers as we already have. Thank you.
And our next speaker is Nelson Benitez. He's the director of Asociación Ecuador Unido and a community organization.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Nelson Benítez. Mi nombre es Nelson Benítez. Yo soy ecuatoriano, presidente de la Asociación Ecuador Unido aquí en Chicago. Nuestra organización comunitaria está ubicada en el 4810 norte de la avenida Albany en el norte de Chicago. Estamos aquí, voy a hablar en español porque quiero manifestar de la manera más contundente el rechazo y la protesta que nosotros como migrantes o personas en condición de movilidad humana estamos viviendo en Estados Unidos. El reverendo que me antecedió en la palabra lo manifestó muy claramente que estamos bajo peligro. Yo podría decir estamos bajo una guerra mediática, inclusive porque no garantiza nada que Trump esté en la presidencia porque tiene un régimen fascista. Parece que Donald Trump es como un alumno de Hitler. Ese es el mismo poder que él está y quiere ejercer en Estados Unidos. Y no es que solamente en Estados Unidos tenemos temor, sino en todo el mundo, en todo el planeta, porque esta es una amenaza para todo el país. Por esa razón nosotros creemos que no debemos parar. La resistencia se inicia ahora y se termina el día 20 de enero. Estamos llamando a la unidad, estamos llamando a esta marcha, a esta protesta de resistencia. Tenemos que estar en pie de lucha. We have to empower the community. We have to stay very, very clear. We have to combat this regimen, the fascist regimen. We say no Trump, no colegio electoral today has to the responsibility to abide the Trump, our president in the United States. They have the very, very good manner how he can govern this country. Govern the United States is the governor of the all planet. It's not only United States. We say resist and unity. This is the consign today. Thank you.
These actions and press conferences, protests are happening around the country today to launch this month of resistance. From New York to California, I invite everyone to go to refusefascism.org. You can watch live stream the launch event in New York City that is featuring Carl Dix, Jeremy Scahill, Josh Fox, the filmmaker for Gasland. Because this is a fascist regime that is going to threaten the very planet that we live on. Our next speaker is Corey Surrey Mason, co-founder and co-executive director of Fearless Leading by the Youth, FLY, a grassroots nonprofit organization that successfully fought for an emergency room on the South Side. Corey?
Corey Mason. We actually fought for a level 1 trauma center for adults on the South Side. We got it. We won that campaign successfully after 5 years. We'll be at the University of Chicago's hospital by 2018. Okay, so I'm here today to speak not only from a youthful perspective and with the youth voice, but just as a concerned American citizen as well. You know, it's just a sad day in America when we have a fascist becoming the president-elect, representing all of us, internationally, locally, and nationally. From the youth perspective, we are very much so going to feel the brunt of this with our twilight and our height of our lives. This is going to affect the future of the youth, whether it comes to education, defunding education, which Trump's platform actually had laid out, whether it's registering Muslim in this country, whether it's building a wall in this country, whether it's stopping frisk. Right now, the youth population in the juvenile temporary detention centers is running rampant. And it's due to racist policies such as stop and frisk, which just gives the police all authority just to stop you for any reason. And that's just not right. There's youth going into these courts all the time for petty crimes and petty charges, and stop and frisk, and other prejudices that's given to minorities or Latinos or even folks up there at Standing Rock that is resisting what Trump's regime is supporting. All of this is going to affect not only the youth, but our whole community. And that's why myself, even certain school systems, are starting to have civic engagement projects, such as the Youth Connection Charter Schools and even CPS campuses are actually educating their students on their rights and their freedoms. So we don't have to be tricked by by Trump's campaigns or campaigns like that in the future that use foreign sources like Brexit to bring out phony news on social media that the youth use every day. This is what folks use every day as valid resources and news sources as well. And we just can't let like a regime like this to censor our media, censor the news that our youth and that our future, that our people use to gain knowledge and information. So thank you.
Can I get your name again, please?
Yes, I'm Corey Mason, co-founder, co-executive director of Fly, Fearless Leading by the Youth. Thank you.
CoreySireyMason. That was our previous speaker. One of our speakers, Sharon Sanders, could not be here today. She is the co-founder of the Coalition to Restore Democracy, the group that has worked to overturn Citizens United for years now. She was also a Bernie Sanders delegate to Philadelphia. I know if she were here, she could explain, and she would explain, one expression of the danger that Trump poses. Every single cabinet member that he has appointed is committed to destroying the cabinet position that they are taking. Whether it's HUD, they want to do someone who doesn't believe that believes poverty is a choice. Betsy DeVos, head of education, who's never run an educational institution and is committed to channeling government money into private parochial schools. Separation of church and state, no. Abiding by the law, no. All of them are committed to overturning the regulations that they're supposed to be enforcing. We just learned yesterday that the head of Family Research Council, a very prominent right-wing Christian organization and advisor to Trump, has called for a purge, his words, of pro-LGBTQ people from the State Department. This is what awaits us if we do not stand up in unity, as our speakers have said, and demand and mobilize to stop Trump Pence. Our next speaker is Dee Williams from the Revolution Club.
My name is Dee Williams, and I'm here representing the Chicago Revolution Club. The Chicago Revolution Club is 100% down with the call for the month of resistance initiated by RefuseFascism.org. As that call says, our resistance must spread rapidly to every sphere and every corner of the country. Because we refuse to accept a fascist America, millions must rise up in resistance with a deep determination such that we create a political crisis that prevents the Trump-Pence fascist regime from consolidating its hold on the governance of society. The Revolution Club says to our LGBTQ brothers and sisters, we are with you. We refuse to accept a fascist America. The Revolution Club says to our immigrant brothers and sisters, we are with you. We refuse to accept a fascist America. We say to our Muslim brothers and sisters, we are with you. We refuse to accept a fascist America. We say to the people of the world, we are with you. In the name of humanity, we refuse to accept a fascist America. The Revolution Club fights for the emancipation of humanity. We are followers of Bob Avakian, chairman of the Revolutionary Communist Party. We need a revolution and call on everyone to go every day to the website revcom, REVCOM.us to learn what is going on and how it fits into the revolution. But right now, the most pressing thing for everyone who gets what this Trump-Pence regime is all about is to get organized to win the enormous battle that is now being joined. This must be stopped. Imagine that people in the tens of millions filled the streets, powerfully declaring that this regime is illegitimate and demanding that it not be allowed to rule. The whole political landscape would be dramatically transformed. Every faction within the established power structure would be forced to respond. And all of this could well lead to a situation in which this fascist regime is actually prevented from ruling. This is not some idle dream, but something which could be made a reality if those who hate what is represented by this fascist regime translate their outrage into firm determination and massive mobilization to create the conditions which make this possible. We call on everyone who wants to see Trump and Pence stop to get involved right now with refusefascism.org. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Jack Altschuler. That's J-A-C-K-A-A, last name Altschuler, A-L-T-S-C-H-U-L-E-R. Jack.
To be clear, fascism is about the blending of government and corporations. And when you take a look at the nominations for the departments at the presidential level, these are people who want to privatize everything. So I want to put that into the context of the greatest danger. When the Trans-Pacific Partnership was first proposed, I took a look at what was involved in it. And I stopped reading when I realized that any disputes would be settled by corporate lawyers. That is to say, the United States would have to give up its sovereignty to the Trans-Pacific Partnership. That's not okay. Now we're faced with a situation where the president-elect sides with a sworn enemy of the United States over our own intelligence agencies. I'm very frightened for our national security. I'm frightened for what can happen with this privatization, this takeover by big money interests beyond what already it is happening. Our national interests, our national security is at risk. We need to stand up and be heard. Our legislators are beginning to make some noises in the right directions, but it's the pressure by we the people that's going to make the difference. We need to stand up and make our voices heard.
Our last speaker, Ted Sirota, is right coming across the street. In the meanwhile, if you have some questions of any of our speakers, we're all here to answer any of your questions.
Can I have your name?
My name is Jay Becker, Jaybecker.
Jay, I wonder if you noticed the similarities between your call and the campaign against Obama in 2008 that was calling him a socialist.
I'm sorry, and the campaign what?
Against Obama in 2008 that was calling him a socialist back then. Remember the calls against Obama in 2008? Trying to boycott his inauguration, calling him a socialist. Now you're calling Trump a fascist and trying to boycott his inauguration. So do you feel that there are any similarities between those calls?
No. I think most of those people who opposed Obama were doing that on a racist basis. We oppose Trump because he is a racist. He is installing one of his top advisors, Bannon, is a proud white supremacist. He is a Nazi. That is his advisor. So, no, there's no parallels here at all, in my opinion. But this is a very broad coalition. People come from many different political organizations and perspectives. So I think I would urge everyone concerned, losing sleep over what Trump is doing now and saying he's going to do, to go to this website, refusefascism.org. Our major launch event in New York City tonight will be live streamed there. Refusefascism.org. Read the call and decide for yourself. and become involved. As all of our speakers have said, it's only by all of us getting into the streets that we're going to be able to stop it.
What time is the live stream?
The live stream, thank you. The live stream starts 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central Time this evening. And our last speaker, Ted Sirota, that's T-E-D, last name S-I-R-O-T-A, well-known jazz drummer with Rebel Soul, Sabertooth, heavyweight dub. He is the founder of a Degenerate Artists Against Fascist America. Ted?
Hi, thanks, Jay. I'm here representing a new group that it's come together very quickly in the wake of this threat of fascism spreading over the United States. And the reason why we're called degenerate, or we're calling ourselves degenerate, is because of the history in Nazi Germany. We know the history of what Adolf Hitler did, how he viewed modern art. Great, incredible artists like Picasso, Chagall, Paul Klee, Max Beckmann were hounded. Some were in prison, some were put in camps. Many had to leave the countries in order to carry on with their art. And we see the same kind of attack coming against the press, against academics, against artists under this Trump-Pence regime. So as musicians, as poets, as actors, as sculptors, as rappers, as graffiti artists, we're coming together. In only a few days, we have hundreds of people joining this, what's now a secret group, but we'll be coming out in public, and people can search for us with the hashtag Degenerate Artists. And thank you. We're not going to stand for this. We're not scared. We're going to fight back against fascism. As artists and musicians, we know that the most vulnerable people in this society are at risk, and we need to come forward and stand with them and use our art to expose the system for what it's trying to do and stand with the people. Thank you.
And tonight we're going to have our own Chicago emergency organizing meeting, 7 p.m. at Trinity Episcopal Church. That's 125 East 26th Street. We'll be watching the live stream from 6 p.m. and we're going to launch our organizing meeting at 7 p.m. Again, that's Trinity Episcopal, 125 East 26th. I just want to amplify a bit Ted's last point about fear. When you have an administration that hasn't even come into power, creating watch lists for professors that they don't like, calling for a purge of pro-LGBTQ people at the State Department, trying to ferret out climate scientists in the federal government who won't go along with their climate denial. This is creating fear. That is one of the things that we are rising up to answer. That we are not going to be back down, and by having backbone, giving backbone to the millions of people who do see that this is a catastrophe bearing down on us. It's a tsunami of destruction of all the civil rights and the public culture that we have worked for in this country. Questions again for any of our speakers?
Do you have any specific actions you have planned in the next month?
Thank you. Yes, there is a basic plan at our website, refusefascism.org. There are going to be actions at Trump Tower hotels on New Year's Eve. No Fascist USA in the new year. Those will be in this country and in other parts of the world. As Nelson said, the whole world is at risk here. Climate denial is certainly one aspect of that. So New Year's Eve, we're calling for all kinds, we unite with all kinds of protests and resistance leading up to Martin Luther King weekend, where we'll be out in the streets. There will be artists organizing events and speaking out at their own gigs, leading up to that week between MLK and the inauguration, where we're building for an atmosphere where people go out in the streets and don't go home. Think Tahrir Square, think Orange Revolution, think de-President Donald Trump. More questions?
I'm going to play devil's advocate again. there's a lot of people wondering, what were these calls against fascism when Obama was deporting 3 million people in the last 8 years and incarcerating a lot of African Americans?
Yeah, that's a good question.
You know, we want to be very distinctive that whatever happened in the last administration, there was opposition, there were people who stood against that, that's well and fine. But now we have to be very distinctive that our clarion call here is that we feel that this president is a threat to not only the security of every citizen, regardless of race, regardless of faith, regardless of whatever, this order has to change. So we understand that people were in opposition against the last administration, but that's not why we're here. We're here to send a comprehensive message that we do not accept this presidency, and not only that, but this is a clarion call that this president is illegitimate, more so that our safety as a country, our safety as a community is in jeopardy. Nothing else will suffice. We don't want to mix messages. That's why we're here.
I would like to also just say that some of us do realize that this mechanism, this apparatus has been being constructed in this country for a number of decades, and that some of us believe that under Barack Obama, this whole apparatus was set up, and now what we have is a fascist coming into power, and the keys to the nuclear codes and all the power that the President of the United States has are laying right there for Donald Trump. At the same time, Barack Obama is making the transition as smooth as he possibly can. So some of us are not, but as my brother said here, you know, the fight now is this is a qualitative leap from where we were at to fascism. And let's call it what it is, okay? Because fascism relies on whipping up a reactionary social base. It relies on controlling women's reproductive rights. It burns books. It labels certain tempos in music as Jewish or Negroid, okay? These are the signs of fascism. Attacks on the press, where a president-elect is at a press conference and he's leading chants, CNN sucks. There they are. There they are. As citizens, as workers, people who as a father, I'm imagining some of these cameramen at these events with this person who's wielding so much power, whipping up this reactionary base of people, foaming at the mouth, screaming at the press. What does that bode for Muslims? What does that tell us is going to happen for the LGBT community? Okay? Yes, all this was brewing under Obama, but we're in a different place now.
The legal way to remove a president is through impeachment. How are you going to de-president?
Impeachment is certainly one mechanism. I think that's highly unlikely since the Republicans will control the whole Congress. I think that even in this country, ways have been found when those with the power need to get rid of someone. For instance, Lyndon Johnson, all of a sudden he decided he was not going to run again when the Democratic Party saw that they were going to lose if they tried to go in with him into another round. They find the ways when they need to. I think what's missing and what we're calling for and what we're determined to organize is that mass mobilization out in the streets saying no, under no circumstances do we recognize him as a legitimate president. You know, going back even further, Nixon's vice president, Nixon himself, he resigned before he could be impeached. They will find a way if we create the political crisis that requires it. More questions? If you want to interview any of our speakers, they are here as well. Thank you all for coming. Again, that's refusefascism.org.